Are you okay to go? Are we okay to go? Okay to go. We are okay to
Hold
go.
on. I think I hear her. She says she's okay to go.
And blast off to the beach where I'm going to talk to my dead dad. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to The Swamp. It's our podcast. It's an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And oh my goodness, golly gee, thank you so much to everyone who submitted movies for Movie Suggestion Month, which is this month. And this week, a special shout out to Rainy_Mornings, who is a devoted listener through the years. Shouts out. Thank you so much. And they suggested that we covered the movie Contact, 1997 Jodie Foster, Slay, which we will be doing this week. But I also wanted to start this episode off by, I threw out into the universe on my Instagram, our Instagram, the Swamp Instagram. I was like, hey, questions. Like, you know, if anyone wants to ask us questions about Contact. And Anya.m.d_ said, not a question, but yay, from someone about to start their astronomy PhD.
Shut up.
Anya, are you being fucking for real right now? Like,
You've got better things to do than listen to us.
I cannot believe it. And so this episode is dedicated to you. Best of luck with your astronomy PhD. I don't know why you're here, but thank you so much. And
I hope you listen to us while you're looking at stars.
I hope that you become the Jodie Foster and that you get to go make contact. I don't know if that's your goal, but I still am manifesting that for you because that would be kind of a serve. Show the aliens the Swamp podcast as like a cultural insight into what the stupidest of Americans are like. But I also wanted to start off, Rainy_Mornings_ who suggested this movie also asked, do you have a favorite planet?
I can't say that I do. I really think that space is very interesting. I haven't done as much of a deep dive into it as I'd like to.
Did you not have, like, as a kid, the main character syndrome so hard that everything that was presented to you, you're like, okay, well, I have to pick a favorite, because I have to make that part of my personality. Like, everything in school that we learned about, Jupiter, because it's the biggest, she's the baddest, she has the big ol' storm, and Jupiter is related to my star sign, which I don't even care about star sign shit, but in 3rd grade, when we learned about the planets, I was like, okay, well, I have to pick a favorite. And so I was like, okay, the big one, Jupiter, Slay. And then later in life, I learned that, like, Sagittarius and Jupiter are, like, the, you know, the association, so I guess that just makes sense for me.
I will say I was probably, more prone to liking Uranus because I always really liked the color of it, and I think the photos that you get from Uranus are really beautiful.
Right, and you just want to say Uranus, like,
of course, yeah.
Like, that's like
Uranus. Yeah.
And also, if you made contact with the aliens and you only had like all of 45 seconds to talk to them, like what would you say? I mean, they would never pick me to be the ambassador.
I'd say move on to a different planet.
Oh, you'd be like, you could blow up Earth, actually. Like, it might be for the best. We're not doing good.
Yeah. I don't know, especially if it came to me in the form of, like, my dead relative. I don't think I would... No, I don't think I could do it.
Right, because I think
I'd flub it.
Yeah, because I wanted, like, how do the aliens fuck? But then
I was just about to say, show me your dick.
But then if I, like, talked to my dead dad,
my grandpa,
like, no.
No, I'm okay.
Absolutely not. But we're talking about, Contact this week.
Yes.
Which I believe you and I have, like, the same intricate history with this movie.
Yes.
And it's that our 8th grade science teacher went on this. I'm convinced it was spurred by her divorce. Because she had just gotten a divorce the year before. She talked about it a lot. And she, I think, was so clearly a lesbian. Like, not
absolutely.
Yeah, like, not to project that, but even in 8th grade, I was like, you are a lesbian. Like, that's why your marriage didn't work out, obviously. But she would talk about her failed marriage a lot, but then she would also just make us watch all these movies that were science-related, yes, but were they related to, like, the topographical map unit we were doing?
Not
Absolutely the fuck not. So
I will say, Gattaca was kind of connected, because we were doing Punnett squares.
Sure. But she was like, you guys are doing Punnett squares. Our class blocks were like 27 minutes long. Do you know how much she had to block out for us to get through Contact? Like, that was
That's
7 weeks.
That's a whole week.
Yeah, that was like 7 weeks of class was just Jodie Foster. And she's like, no, this is educationally valuable, which to me it was.
Well, do you also remember the one about the super volcano that she made us watch?
Yes.
That one was traumatizing. I was terrified for ages after that one.
That's anything I know from 8th grade history is from the movies we had to watch. We watched Gattaca, we watched Contact, we watched that super volcano movie, and I swear there was a 4th one. Like, literally, that bitch was cashing it in. She was upset about her marriage, and she just cashed in the semester and had us watch movies.
I only remember those 3, but you could be right.
I don't know shit about earth science. She did not set me up to succeed.
No. I remember those topographical maps being one of the worst projects I ever had to do, though.
Yes, out of foam. If you had to make a topographical map out of foam, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. And it's traumatizing. That's the trauma that we have to unpack in therapy every week, is the topographical foam map and your dad yelling at you at 2 a.m. because you're doing it the night before it's due. Like, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I truly have not watched this movie since then.
Nope. First and So first impressions then. Tell me what you thought about it when you were in the 8th grade, because I remembered really liking it.
Yes, of course, because it was we get to watch a movie in school, which to me was always a win. Even if it was a bad movie, even if it was an educational movie, even if it was a documentary. I was like, to me, this is better than anything you're going to present otherwise. I loved that shit. So I remember really liking it, and the only a couple of scenes I think really stuck with me from then until my rewatch just now.
Well, obviously it was the big machine, right?
Yes, it was the weird CGI on the big machine. That they had 2 of them. I remember that. Like, the secret second one, I remembered that bit. And then, obviously, I remembered her, like, being on the bad CGI beach with her dad. And then I also so remembered that very last scene where Angela Bassett is talking to the guy, and they're like, but it's 18 hours of footage. And I remember as a kid being like, who's gonna tell her? Yeah. Like, are they gonna go tell her? Like, oh my god, like, that was such a gag to me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you're like, what is the movie Contact about? I'd be like, I cannot tell you the first 2/3. Like, I remember that little end bit, kind of fire, but the rest of it, couldn't tell you. Jodie Foster, standing by a satellite, trying her best, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I only remembered the 3rd act, for sure. Totally forgot that one Mr. Matthew McConaughey was in this movie as a youth pastor.
What the fuck? Literally, okay, this movie is too long. I'm sorry. I don't mind.
So long.
I, humble brag, am not afflicted by the same attention disorders that a lot of people our age are. I can watch a 4-hour movie. I will. I love it. I'm gonna go see Dune 2 for the 9th time this weekend. Like, I'm here for it. I think this movie is too long. Cut every Matthew McConaughey scene out of this movie and shave a good 30 minutes.
Oh.
Palmer Joss, be fucking for real with me right now.
I just feel so bad for Jodie Foster, because I know at this point she's like, why are you even trying to put me up with men? And there was no need for a romantic plot in this movie whatsoever. If they left it at she fucked him in the jungle and then never saw him again, can't.
Right.
Would have been so good. And then he pops back up. For what?
Nothing. To be the president's theologic fucking religious advisor? What the fuck? To be literal Bill Clinton, who was in this movie, to be Bill Clinton's theology professor on standby? And why is he being invited to, like, the A-tier top secretest of meetings? They're like, we need to discuss how to bring alien contact to the American public. Why the fuck is the president's religious advisor there? Riddle me that. He should not have been there.
There was too many religious themes in this movie. It would have been so much better. Piss
me the fuck off. And he just, like, had floppy hair and, like, I can't even say boyish charm, because he's, like, an adult man at this point, but he's just, like, has his Matthew McConaughey, like, about him, right? And Jodie Foster is just acting fucking circles around him. There's no chemistry. Those scenes where they're kissing, I'm like, get him away from her. Get away from that lesbian. No. Get Get away from her. Stop it. Stop it. I would have respected this movie so much more if they had like a... Okay, they fuck, right? They fuck at the beginning, and that's fine, because it sets him up as being this, like, moral, like, theology, religious guy, but, like, he's not, like, a priest. He's not pious. Like, he fucks, right? I'm fine with establishing that. It's the late 90s. We want to make it cool. Whatever. He fucks. They fuck, and then they go their separate ways, and then I want them to have the reconnection where it's, like, it's obviously not going to work out because we fucked once a long time ago and it, like, we went our separate ways, but, like, we can respect each other on like, a peer-to-peer level, right? Of two people trying to deal with this situation, that we're gonna, like, see eye to eye and have, productive discussions from two different viewpoints of, like, I can respect you as a coworker, a colleague, whatever. And if they had established that and then had him kind of be her sounding board of, like, well, I know you're a person who's very different from me, how can we get through this? I would have understood and respected their relationship so much more if it came from that point of view than the whole him being like, well, I secretly have a crush on you, so I'm gonna dox you as an atheist in front of the American government so that the girl I have a crush on doesn't go to space. Like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was him trying to... He's like, I want to control you. Basically, him being like, don't go to space because I want you to be my trad wife. Like, literally...
It's the most man behavior that you could have had in this film. So
and it made no sense. It made no sense.
Nope.
They fucked once. 20 years ago, and suddenly it's like he's like, I'm putting it all on the line for you, and she isn't mad about it. She isn't mad about him.
Pussy, like, that good?
Oh my god! I mean, from Jodie Foster.
Pussy from a woman who doesn't care about you.
Pussy from a woman who talks to aliens. Kind of fire, not gonna lie.
Oh my god, yeah, I hated him in this movie, and I hated all of the, like, it just frustrated me too, because it gave Jodie all of this really corny and shitty dialogue to dish out about, oh, well, I love space so much. I don't know why she's Southern now, but you know what I mean?
Dr. Lecter, I love space. I love space so goddamn much. Like, it's...
It was just she had this one big spiel to him that was so corny.
Cut him out.
I'll give it to him. He atoned for his cinema sins later with Interstellar, obviously.
Yeah, which is a very, like, a parallel to this movie.
And I think I think he finally got up to, like, acting par with her. It only took him 20 years.
Ugh, yeah, I wouldn't even say that, but yeah, he pissed me off so bad. I guess for anyone who hasn't seen the 1997 film Contact, you don't really need to. You can kind of just get the high points from us here right now. Baby Jenna Malone she loves science.
That was Jenna Malone?
Yeah.
I couldn't clock it.
Okay, I mainly clocked it when she was in the spaceship, and they did that jank-ass CGI to Jodie Foster's face to morph her back into her child self. Like, the bad CGI is where it really clicked for me.
Okay.
Baby Jenna Malone, she loves science. She has a dead mom, not explained, who cares.
Died in childbirth.
She lives with just her dad, who's super supportive of her little scientific endeavors, and he builds her a little radio, and she's seeing all the different radio spots that she can reach. It's so cute. He's so supportive. But no, then he dies. And then we just fast forward from there. Who cares what happened to her between the ages of 10 and 20? Who cares? She graduates the top of her class from every school ever, and she's loves space, and she wants to talk to aliens. That's her big MO, is that she's going to do it. And so she gets hired. She's in Puerto Rico, and she's like on this mission to talk to aliens, and then they're like, no, we cut the funding. And then she's like, well, I'm gonna girl boss up, and I'm gonna get the funding. Like, I'm gonna go beg for the funding. And so she does, and they're like, yes. And there's a man in a video camera, sneaky. And he's like, give her the funding. I'm a secret billionaire who's doing weird science shit because I'm bored. So, give her the funding. So she gets the funding. They're gonna talk to aliens. She's listening. She's out on her car, on the roof of her car, listening with her little headphones.
Looking sexy.
Some lo-fi beats to study and relax to. Like, she's just out there, just vibing, but she's like
listening to the beeps and the boops.
listening to the frequencies, and she's like, okay, I think we got it. Like, we made contact. And they're like, good, because the funding runs out in 24 hours. And she's like, well, thank God, because we finally made contact. And so they analyze the little sound waves, and they're like, yeah, that's it. Like, that's definitely a sound coming from a star a bajillion, light years away. So, like, great job, Jodie Foster. You fucking nailed it. And then from there, the scientific evidence begins to unfold. They're using prime numbers because math is the universal language, and they sort of unfur all of these things of data, and it's puzzles, and we're putting together the puzzles, and then suddenly it's Hitler, because we sent a message of Hitler into space, and they're like, look, we received it. But then the US government is like, how do we explain that our first contact with aliens is them sending us a video of Hitler? Like, that is not chill. And they weirdly splice news clips of Bill Clinton into this movie.
Uh-huh.
Like, as if, like, I didn't read into this at all because I just didn't think to before this very moment. But what is, like, the legality or, like, I don't know, like, can they just use news clips of the president in, like, can a movie just do that? I guess they can.
I don't know.
Because they basically use Bill Clinton only shown through a secondary screen. So it's like, they're watching the news and it's of Bill Clinton. Or like, they're all at the press conference and it's being filmed and then we see a screen and it's Bill Clinton. Like, we never, obviously Bill Clinton isn't in this movie, but they like remastered news clips to like get him in there, which is kind of wild because I feel like 97% of movies, when they're like, it's the president, they just get some guy. They're like, oh, that's him. And it's like, yeah, believable. But this one, they're like, no, it's for fucking real. It's Bill Clinton.
This is Bill Clinton, yeah.
He's the president at this moment in time, which was kind of a serve. But then they're like, we can't afford to actually get Bill Clinton. So Angela Bassett is just sort of his mouthpiece. She's like his staffer or whatever who like...
Which I did love that.
Yeah, she like speaks on his behalf. But they're at the White House, they're like, holy fuck, we're gonna get in contact with aliens. And then they're like, wait, it's a blueprint to make a machine to send a person to space, and then they're like, let's do it. Let's run it.
You know, what if we were just really crazy?
If we just built it? What if we just built it?
Let's see what this does.
So then they built it, and obviously little Dr. Ellie Arroway, Jodie Foster, she wants to go, because she's like, it's my thing. And then they are selecting, they have like a committee, which Matthew McConaughey's on. For what reason? For what reason is he on the committee? I don't know, but he's like, do you believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? And she's like, I'm a scientist. And there's no empirical evidence for that. So she basically takes sort of an agnostic approach, being like, well, we can't say for sure either way. So I'm sort of like, yeah, it's whatever. And he's like, well, if you're not a woman of faith, you can't go to space. That's just the way it is. So they let sort of the guy who's been taking credit for her scientific discoveries, what was his name? Like, Durraway, her shitty boss, basically, gets to go. But then religious terrorism strikes, and they
blow it up.
They human bomb the spaceship, and it's like, well, that's a huge bummer. But then they're like, wait, we built a second secret one. Like, don't even sweat. People died, but don't even sweat. We built a second secret one in Japan. Hey, like, we won't even...
Jodie, get to...
Like, yeah, we won't even do a committee hearing this time. Jodie Foster, you can just go. It's cool. And so she goes, and she gets in the spaceship, it blasts off, she goes to space through a wormhole, she sees the nebula, she's getting everything she ever worked for, and then she meets the aliens, and she basically arrives on this beach, and her dead father comes up to her and is like, hey, we downloaded all your memories, so we figured this would be the most appropriate way to approach you, is as your dead dad. Let's have a quick little convo. And basically they're like, this is just like the way we do things, we're sending you the blueprint, you come here, we've made contact, maybe in another 100,000, who's to say years, we'll reach back out. But basically, like, this is step one. Great job. Humanity, Earth, super cool. Don't really worry about how science or math works here. You can't ask us any questions, really. And me presenting myself as your dead dad is obviously going to be very jarring for you and stun you into silence. Okay, you can go back home. And she's like, okay.
That's literally it.
Okay, cool. And so she goes back home, and they're like, oh, the mission failed. And she's like, no, I was gone. And they're like, no, you weren't. And basically, then they're like, you idiot woman who's lying. You crazy delusional woman.
Delusional. They called her delusional.
And they're like, so you have no proof that you actually went. So you didn't go. You hit your head and you're crazy and you have no proof that you went. So you basically have to, apologize to the American people.
Uh-huh.
And there's that whole scene of that guy, like, yelling at her.
Which is exactly what I think would happen in a courtroom for something like this. Like, to a T.
And then basically the American public, like, obviously has been informed, the 24-hour news cycle, whatever, and she's getting into a car. Matthew McConaughey is like, I believe her. And that's the end of the movie, basically.
That's all you need is one white man, one religious white man to believe you, and then finally, you're valid as a woman.
And thank God, right? And then we get this final, like, scenes of her running this big science operation. She's teaching the children. She's doing her research. She's basically just continuing this contact with extraterrestrial intelligence program that she now has ample funding for, which is so great for her. Wow. God bless Jodie Foster. And that's all of Contact. Yeah, I'm mostly just pissed about Matthew McConaughey's presence in this movie. I think it was unnecessary. I think it was weird. I think so much of this movie could have been, like, refined a little bit and edited.
It is very much a product of its time, I think. The super overarching religious themes of this make sense for the 90s. And, yeah, the real push for a love interest as well. Yes. I think.
That's a director's note if I ever heard one. They're like, wait, but we gotta get something in there. Like, we gotta get... And there's no tension. That's the thing about this movie that, like, really pissed me off, is there's no tension with their love story.
Nothing.
Their connection. But there's also, like, not a lot of tension with this, like, the actual story. Like, I know it's her fighting against this system that doesn't want to believe her. But, like, at almost every roadblock, it's, like, sort of, she's minorly inconvenienced, but they do end up getting what needs to get done. Like, it's not...
Yeah. So,
I wanted it to be, in my 2024 vision, I wanted this more to be, like, a science versus government sort of argument, right? Of them being like, we made contact with extraterrestrials, like, what do we do? And the government being like, absolutely the fuck not. Like, no, you cannot publish this, we are going to murder all of you, like, that sort of thing, right? Because the way that in this movie, the US government so freely is just like, well... accepting this as truth, and we will publish it, and we will back it, and we will totally support you guys. We'll fund the building of this machine. Absolutely the fuck not. Not in 1997, not today, not ever with the US government. I truly thought, I was like, was there a part of this movie that I kind of forgot where, like, the government killed her dad because, like, he knew something? Like, he knew too much because, like, he was a science guy or something? But, like, no, he just died of, like, a medical thing that she, for some reason, felt responsible for giving him his pills or whatever.
Some shit like that, I don't know.
But I was like, no, the government is gonna, like, send a sniper to take out Jodie Foster because she made contact with aliens.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the tension.
Yeah, yeah, you're really right about that. It's really funny because I feel like I just had the same thoughts. I just rewatched Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman, and obviously they did it really intentionally that, like, the police are still almost like the cops from, like, the 1950s or whatever. Because watching that movie, you're sitting there thinking, not in New York City. Batman would have been dead immediately. They would have blown him up. They would have bombed the entire city just to get rid of this man. The militarized police force that we have in New York City, no shot. Same thing with this movie. No shot are they letting any of those people live. All dead.
The moment...
mysteriously.
The moment that ragtag team was like, wait, we made contact with a star. I'm sorry, all your computers are bugged and a SWAT team is coming in to take you all to, like, Ecuador to place you under, like, witness protection, and you're never see your families again. Like, no.
They already have bombs set under their facility, and all they need to do is detonate it.
Right? Like, that's more what I was... because we get a little bit of conflict, right? You get a little bit of, like, the scientists and the government, like, not exactly having mutual understanding of the government being like, well, like, why we don't understand what this means. This, you know, primarily Jodie Foster being like, well, you know, this is XYZ. This is why they would send numbers. This is why they would send Hitler. Like, to me as a scientist, that makes sense. And the government being like, well, oh, okay, I guess we just trust you. Like, I do not see that happening for her. I do understand the sort of, like, her male boss getting all of the credit and, like, the government being like, well, your male boss can be the one to speak at the like, you know, the panel or whatever. Like, that shit was very true. And I was doing a little bit of research about what this movie was sort of all about, and it's actually kind of interesting. Do you know who Carl Sagan is?
Sounds familiar.
So he used to do that show Cosmos.
Okay, yeah.
He's a big American astronomer guy. He is, like, one of the most famous, like, scientific entities of American history, basically. And so him so him and his wife, she wasn't his wife at the time, but him and his wife wrote a movie. They wrote this movie. And they were like, we want to make this into a movie. And then everyone was like, this is a little too science-y, this is a little too, like, complex, just maybe write it as a book, and then people will want to make a movie about your book. So they turned their movie script into a book, into a science fiction, but it was, like, fiction that was very grounded in, like, real scientific principles and, like, theories.
Yeah.
Right? And so they wrote this book, and then they're like, okay, now we'll make a movie about your book. So, which, like, doesn't make a lot of sense. But it was interesting because it was Carl Sagan and his wife, and they based the character of Ellie on, like, an actual female scientist that they knew, and they brought her in, and a lot of the things were, like, about her actual experience of, like, being a woman in science at that time, of, like, you're not respected, you know, like, your male coworkers get all the credit for everything, like, people talk over you, and even if you're the person who's gonna make the most important discovery in all of human history, like, you're still gonna have to, you know, claw your way into getting credit for what that is. So a lot of it was, like, grounded in this, like, woman's actual experience. And I guess, like, she was on the film as a consultant, and, like, Jodie Foster talked to her a lot, which I'm sure, like, really informed her performance. But yeah, it was based on this book, which I thought was really interesting. But this movie, it does feel so grounded in, like, this could be real, right?
Absolutely.
The whole principle of this is that we're going to make this 2.5 hour long movie that dives so deep into how real this could be that it does feel like, yes, very plausible, entertaining, maybe not, right? Like, I'm like, I get that you're, like, making this argument about this grand thing that could potentially happen, and the ways that we might deal with it might be catastrophically good or bad, but like, it just doesn't have, to me, the tension and the build of a good screenplay, and then I'm sure whatever executive was there was like, well, what if we had romance? And it was like, okay, that's just worse. Now we're just making it worse.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think it was a little, unfortunately, I am not a math or science, like, driven person. Doesn't really work with my brain very well. This was a little too math and science-y for me, which I can do science, but once it gets into, like, math, and I'm sitting there thinking, how could she even memorize all of this dialogue? You know what I mean?
Right?
Just talking about, like, these, I'm sure that it's, like, very complex shit. But, like, talking about the rhythms and the patterns that she's hearing and yelling out to turn on this thing and rotate what's, like, one, radio this way and all that kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, when they were, I feel like it definitely lost me a little bit in that way, as opposed to, like, say, something like Interstellar, where they do show you so much of, like, the travel, and it's all, like, fake science instead, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I
like,
do think
obviously something like that is going to be more palatable, because it's literally not real. If it was real, there would probably be a hell of a lot more astronomers.
Yeah, and there's something, like, about the human element of it, too, right? With Interstellar, is it's about, like, the relationships of the crew, and, you know, like, just, it's more of a human story, I think, where that's what this was missing a little bit for me, and the human, quote-unquote, human element that they were trying to add was this fluke romance that was so unbelievable. I'm like, if you could have had the relationship between Ellie and Palmer Joss. I'm sorry, I hate that name. Palmer Joss.
Horrific.
If you take
Although it is exactly the kind of name that a man like that would have.
Yeah, for sure.
It's horrific, but it's perfect. Sorry, continue.
No, like, gives me, like, hives to say it. Palmer Joss. But, like, to have that relationship just be, like I said, like less of a romance thing and more of, like, how are we as two humans with differing views going to, like, navigate this incredibly difficult scenario? Like bringing a little more human element to it, too, because, like, her dad died when she was, 11, but I was like, why do I care? They didn't give me a single reason to care, other than some expositional...
The only thing they made me care about was that shot of her running to grab the medicine.
Oh my god, cinema was invented with that shot. Holy fuck, I peed myself. Like, it was so good. It was so good. But I was like, okay, her mom is dead, we're not going to talk about it. Her dad, like, supports her as a young woman scientist, but then other than that, why do I care? Who raised her after that? Who's to say? Like, I think the closest thing to, like, a good human connection we had was between her and Kent, her coworker, the blind.
Loved Kent.
Yeah, I was like, let's explore that a little bit more.
Just, like, their friendship a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, a couple of expositional scenes to make it, like, or, like, maybe between her and Angela Bassett, like, maybe we're both women in our fields who feel like we're being put under a lot of pressure at a certain moment. I don't know. Like, literally anything to make this movie feel a little more grounded in a human story rather than be like, we're saying scientific jargon at you for 20 straight minutes. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I believe it, but I don't know why I care. Up until the point where we were roughly like an hour and 30 minutes into this movie, and I just feel like I'm edging myself, like, show me the alien. Show me the aliens! Like,
yeah. This movie doesn't really get good until the first spaceship blows up. Honestly. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then I'm locked in. Once that happens, once there's a tiny bit of action, I'm there. It only took an hour and a half to get there.
Right? And, like, it surely did not need to. But yeah, once we're at that point, and once we're doing all this wacky CGI space shit, I'm like, give me more. Yeah. Say that she was gone for a month. Fully integrate her into alien society and then send her back and tell her it was fake. Like, that's more of what I want. Beep, beep, beep. I'm trying to make contact with my mother, Jen. Jen, where are you? I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Jen, are you here? Have we made contact?
We have made contact. I am here.
Oh, thank God. Jen is here to do her interim podcast segment, Chocolate or Vanilla. She's going to say two things. We're all just going to say which one we like better. It's a hoot. It's a holler. It's a dandy grand old time. Jen, is there a theme this week?
Yep, these are things from the late 90s.
Oh, fabulous.
Oh, love. We love it. Emily and I are from the late 90s, if you would consider that to be the spawning point. To be the origin of the conception of the person. I would personally define myself as being more from 2012.
That's when you really became conscious.
I would say that's when I really sort of hit the ground running. But we could say we're from the late 90s. That's what I think people say is the definition between, like, Gen Z and Millennial, is that we're technically Gen Z because we, like, don't really remember the 90s, is what the argument typically is.
Which makes sense to me.
Because I'm like, yeah, bro, I was 2. Like, I do remember 9/11, though, but that's neither here nor there.
I know that.
Weird flex.
Weird flex, but okay. It's like, I was born in 1998, but I do remember 9/11. Like, don't get it twisted.
I know that's. I wonder if you guys are gonna know any of this stuff. But
I know, really aging us, but in the reverse.
Yeah.
Sometimes this podcast makes me feel
Yeah.
old because people who are like literally teenagers will message us and I'm like, what? But then sometimes this makes me feel young because we'll post TikToks and people will be like, were you born yesterday? And I'm like, yes, yes I was.
so chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate?
Vanilla.
Chocolate for me too. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
I'll say strawberry this week because my shirt is pink and my microphone is pink. So I'm feeling very fruity, girly pop.
I'll stick vanilla at the moment.
And I will go strawberry with you, Dara. All right, so the first one is a traffic jam when you're already late, or a no smoking sign on your cigarette break.
What lyrics, what song is this from?
From Isn't It Ironic by Alanis Morissette.
Okay.
Knew it.
I'll go with the cigarette break.
Yeah, that would really peeve me off.
I'll go with the traffic jam when you're already late. Next one is Monica Lewinsky or Britney Spears.
Oh, okay. Way to pit two queens against each other, I guess. I guess I gotta pick Britney, because I feel like Monica, she didn't really ask for all that to be happening to her. And although I think she's made the best out of her situation, and she's spoken very gracefully about, you know, everything that happened to her, she simply did not choose to be in that sort of limelight. Whereas Britney, actually, maybe kind of, there are some parallels between Monica and Britney, maybe.
Absolutely.
Sort of like the men in your life controlling you to the extent of like that. It's like pushing you beyond your capacities, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
Sort of a comparison there. But I'll pick Britney, because I would say her impact. Toxic, that's my karaoke song.
Mm-hmm. I'll also go for Britney on this one. I think she's more of a staple of the yeah, I guess she's just more of a staple.
Yeah. I'll go with Britney too. Britney for the sweet. Next one is belting out the song I Will Always Love You, or belting out the song My Heart Will Go On.
Jen just, like, constantly wants me to bring up on this podcast how I crashed my car because I was singing Whitney Houston too passionately. It's like, I feel like once every 6 episodes, Jen's like, let me bring up Whitney Houston to bait Dara into revealing this embarrassing moment.
It's so funny because there's definitely been times where it hasn't been her baiting you. It's you.
I just bring it up.
back around.
Just jumping in. I know, because I was more thinking, like, trying to hold that note. You know,
I offer this information so freely. Like, you're not pulling teeth here. But I guess I'll pick I Will Always Love You. But the song I did crash my car to was
I Have Nothing.
I Have Nothing. Yeah.
What one was it? I have
I
nothing.
have nothing.
Oh, that'll do it.
Fully, I was in the throes and I slid into a guardrail and
if it makes you feel better, there was one time when I was in high school, I was trying to be like a nice like sister, and I brought my brother out to like grab ice cream or something like that. And I was like, I've seen my mom like eat an ice cream cone while she's driving enough times that I think I can handle this. You know what I mean? Slid into a guardrail.
We know where this is going.
Yeah, skidded it. Car was fine, thankfully. But yeah,
moose
was
tracks on the shirt.
Oh yeah, I like threw it on the ground after I pulled the car over.
Oh my god.
I was like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not at this level of queenery.
I would simply never take my brother out for ice cream. That's where you.
That's really where I went wrong. Yeah. I'll go belting Whitney though.
Yeah, I will also go belting Whitney. I would pick Whitney over Celine.
I do
all the time.
Both are on my songs to sing too loud in your car playlist, though, for sure.
Next one is Barbie Girl by Aqua or Fly by Sugar Ray.
I don't know. What is Fly by Sugar Ray? I don't know and I don't care.
I just wanna fly.
Oh,
Put your arms around me, baby. That one.
What movie was that in? That was in, like, a...
Scooby-Doo.
Yes! That was in Scooby-Doo.
That's because like, Mark McGrath was in Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
I think... Yeah,
yes, Sugar Ray was in Scooby-Doo. That's wow.
Yeah.
Blast from the past. No, but it's Aqua. It's Barbie Girl by Aqua every time.
Oh, yeah.
A timeless classic.
Yeah, no question about it.
I would say same for the sweep. Next one is Tickle Me Elmo versus Lip Smackers lip gloss versus Slap bracelets.
Ooh. I was definitely a Lip Smackers girly. I loved the ones that were the soda.
Like soda.
Flavors?
Oh my god, I was going to say the
So
same
good.
exact thing.
The Sprite and the Dr. Pepper. I didn't even like Coke, but I loved my Coke flavored Lip Smackers. And I loved the lip gloss too. The strawberries and cream flavored like lip gloss. I would lick it off the applicator like a freak. Like in 3rd grade, I'd be like sucking on the applicator of my lip gloss, and they were like, they're like, you need to go to the nurse. Like, you need to stop.
Like, they didn't know where else to send you.
They're like, I don't know.
I was
Doesn't really warrant a phone call home, but
I was definitely also a Lip Smackers girly. Maybe not to the same extent that Tara was. But I had my favorites. I liked the fucked up like chocolate ones from what I remember. Like it was
M&Ms.
like it was like gross, but like in a way that it still kind of like tickled you.
Yeah, I'm with you guys too with the Lip Smackers, especially the triple pack of soda Lip Smackers.
I think we should bring them back.
We totally should if we can find them.
That's like a very like hot girl thing, I think. Let's start this trend. Everyone bring back their favorite Lip Smackers.
Your Diet Coke flavored lip gloss? Like, come on.
Do you remember when they started, and this was probably later in the game, but when they started doing, like, I remember there being, like, a little coffee cup, like a little Starbucks coffee cup, that was, like, Lip Smackers?
Yes, the shape. And they were ones that looked like little soda bottles, too. That was a little elevated.
Yeah.
I was more just the regular old
I'm the regular
chapstick.
tube.
Yeah, regular chopstick.
I like the one that was bubblegum flavor, too.
Yeah, oh, and it would melt in your little, like, purse, in your fake purse that had nothing in it, but you'd carry it around because you were, like, 9, and you're like, my mom has a purse, so I have a purse. Just melted lip gloss stuck to the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Next one is your Lisa Frank notebook or your Star Wars Trapper Keeper.
It was my Lisa Frank notebook. I was a Lisa Frank girly, for sure. I loved leopard print. I think my, like, love of leopard print, like, was sourced from how cunty Lisa Frank was.
What's this Trapper Keeper?
Trapper Keeper's like, they still make them now. It's like that plastic thing with the folder on the top, and then it elastics shut for all your schoolwork.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'll go for the Trapper Keeper because that is definitely was more my style in those days. Probably still more my style. I wasn't a Lisa Frank girly, if you can't tell by looking at me.
I will go for Lisa Frank because I think if you do anything like an ombre rainbow, it's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Next one is Legends of the Hidden Temple or the Wild Thornberries.
Oh my god, Legends of the Hidden Temple was like my indoctrination to loving reality competition TV shows as a kid. Like, why was that like the gateway drug to like now I watch like nothing but like Chopped and The Challenge and just like Survivor and all of that. What was the team that you loved? I remember always really fucking with the Silver Monkeys. Do you remember? It was like the Blue Barracudas, the Red Jaguars, like all the kid teams.
I think the Red Jaguars, was mine.
I liked the Silver
But it really
Monkeys
depended.
always. Yeah.
When did you watch it? Because I remember waking up at the ass crack of dawn and it being on, and it would be like almost an incentive to get up and get my teeth brushed so that I can like go downstairs and watch it while I'm like eating my Pop-Tarts. Like it was never on at a reasonable time. It was 6 a.m.
Yeah, I don't have that like recollection. But it was on Cartoon Network, right? Or was it Nickelodeon?
Nick. I
It was
think
on
it was Nick.
Nickelodeon, yeah.
No,
I will
definitely.
go definitely Legends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will go with Legends of the Hidden Temple for the sweep.
Except-
And Dara, I would also say that your indoctrination to reality show competitions, ABDC, America's
Yes.
Best Dance Crew.
Jen and I...
We were obsessed
Jen
with
and I
that
watched
show.
like a dance show, like a lot. I also, when I couldn't fall asleep, you would like let me watch American Idol with you.
This is
That's
very
very
true.
You'd be like, oh, like you can watch, and I have such visceral early memories of Sanjaya from season 1 of American. I think he was actually that he was like not season 1, right? He was a little.
He
later.
was later. Yeah, it was a
But
little later.
Sanjaya, if you're listening, I've DM'd you on TikTok asking you to come on this podcast, and you haven't responded yet. So. But I was gonna say wild thornberries. Henry tells me all the time that I sound like the little brother. He's like, that's just what you sound like when you talk. And I'm like, thank you so much. But I simply cannot argue against it. Like he's so right.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. Next one is the song One Week by Bare Naked Ladies or the song Slide by Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, both really good. I've gotta go with It's Been 1 week. I think I sing that one to my cats pretty... that's a good one to swap lyrics with if you're on the spot, you're riffing with your cats, put your cats' names in there.
I'm gonna go for the Goo Goo Dolls on this one. I definitely grew up listening to them a bit more.
Yeah, I actually kind of love both these songs, but I am gonna go with the Goo Goo Dolls. Next one is Seinfeld, Sex and the City, or Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks. I have not seen Sex and the City, nor will I ever. I have not seen Seinfeld, nor have I ever. Will I ever? I'm sorry. It's just not gonna happen for me.
I feel like I didn't watch Freaks and Geeks at that pivotal time when you're like 16 or 17. And so I feel like it was a little bit lost on me. I do know that it's still good and I can appreciate it, and I've since watched it. I just don't think it gave me that visceral reaction that a lot of like teenagers have. But I fucking love Sex and the City.
People who like it love it.
Love it. Love it.
It's so true.
Which one are you? I know everyone who watches is like, oh my god, I'm such a Charlotte. Like, I'm such a Miranda. Which one speaks to you?
They're all horrible. They're not horrible. Some of them are. Some of them are. Carrie, I hate Carrie Bradshaw. I've talked about this with people before. I think, and I'm not trying to be very like, well, I'm a Samantha, but I think it's probably the closest that I am is a Samantha, I guess. And I'm not just saying that because she's the fucking best.
I'm
It's just
Mr.
Charlotte's
Big.
a prude.
I'm,
Oh my
I'm
God.
Mr. Big. So that's the only thing I know from that show.
Maybe I'm Steve.
Miranda's husband, Steve.
Maybe I'm Steve. Miranda!
I will go with Freaks and Geeks. Next one is the O.J. Simpson low-speed car chase, or Johnny Cochran trying to fit that glove on and saying, if the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
It's the car chase. That white Bronco. Oh my god.
Classic.
Everyone has been having the debate on TikTok about, like, Hear Me Out, right? They're like, okay, it's like, who's hot, hear me out. And it's like, who's your controversial crush? And people saying, like, Jack Black. And everyone's like, no, fuck you. Like, that's a universally kind of sexy
Beloved
man, right?
man.
Like, okay, that's not
That's
a hear
just
me,
a
like,
bear.
I'm sorry, my Hear Me Out is kind of O.J. Simpson. Like, hear me out.
Oh, God.
I don't know. No, I know it's a no. But who's to say?
I think mine might be Sam Rockwell.
No, he's hot. See, that's not
okay,
a valid.
good.
That's
All
not
right.
a valid. Hear me out. That's like, oh, that's a conventionally attractive man. If you were like Sam Rockwell in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, like that would be a hear me out. Like that's a no. Like that's a no. It's something that everyone would be like, that is very questionable for you to say. The way the both of you just reacted to me saying that I would fuck O.J. Simpson is that's the response that is typically a hear me out. I love that car chase though. I admittedly really do play into the hype of that whole situation. The Ryan Murphy American Crime Story show.
Oh my god.
Eight. I loved it.
Have to agree with you there. I'll go for the low speed car.
Same, of course. And then perfect segue into the star of the Ryan Murphy O.J. Simpson movie, Boys in the Hood with Cuba Gooding Jr., or 4 Weddings and a Funeral with Hugh Grant.
I've never seen either, but everyone online has been recently saying that Hugh Grant is a fucking asshole. That he...
He's a bad guy.
Really?
He's like not... So, Emily, do you know everyone talking about like who made Rebecca Ferguson cry on set? like that whole.
Oh yeah,
like,
I've heard about
she,
that.
She like told a vague story about someone who was awful to her. Like it was Hugh Grant. That was who was so mean to her on set that she like had to like go say something. So fuck Hugh Grant. He only did the Wonka movie because he's broke. He's fucking broke, and that's why he had to go be the Oompa Loompa, because he's fucking broke, and he deserves it. So I'll pick Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, you would like Boys in the Hood.
I'll go for
good.
Boys
It's
in the
good
Hood.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I do love 90s Hugh Grant, though. I can't say, oof. I mean, what is it? Notting Hill, Bridget Jones's Diary. What's the other one? Isn't he in, Love Actually?
Oh, no, that's Colin Firth is who you're thinking of.
No, but he's also
Jones's
in
Diary. Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I believe you. But maybe then Hugh Grant would be your, what did you call it? Your,
Oh, Hear Me Out.
No.
Yeah, you hear me out?
He is still sexy.
He's also hot, yeah.
He's very hot. That's the unfortunate thing.
No, like, my Hear Me Out is, like, the horse from Spirit. Like, that's a Hear Me Out. Like, it's, you know, if your Hear Me Out is even bipedal, like, that's, you're too vanilla. I'm sorry.
That was it. I'm gonna go Boys in the Hood. And that was it for 90s chocolate or vanilla.
Fabulous.
Love it. So glad we could make contact, Jen. So glad we could meet on this beach, and you could take the form of my mother as an alien presence to just let me know what's going on. I'm gonna blast off back to Earth. Nobody's gonna believe me that this happened, but thank you so much for stopping by, for sending me the instructions for this space travel machine. We love it, and we'll see you next week.
All right, I love you guys. Have an awesome week.
Bye.
Bye. Do you find Matthew McConaughey hot in this one?
No, I think I just
really.
Know. I think everyone's hot. So like, yes, objectively, I liked his hair. And I do think he's a conventionally attractive man, but his entire disposition did not do, like, that was giving me the ick for sure. And I think he falls into the same bucket as sort of a Bradley Cooper for me, whereas it's like, I can recognize your conventional attractive qualities, but you simply will never be hot to me. Like,
boring.
You just give me too much of the boring white man ick. Like, it's just not gonna do it. It wasn't good, and the fact that I was just like, get away from that lesbian, like, please, and the fact that he was like, I love religion, but like, it was sort of interesting to pose him as this like theologist who was interested in asking scientists about like their work. That is actually the foundations of a somewhat interesting character to me, but then after they
squandered it.
After they fuck and she leaves him high and dry, him being like, I'm the personal religious advisor to Bill Clinton, I was like, oh, so you should just kill yourself. Like, I think the rest of this movie should be about unpacking that you're probably a pervert. Like, whoever the religious advisor to the president of the United States is, I'm sure should be a convicted pedophile. I'm all across the board. Like, I swear to God, anyone with that job title who's showing up to, like, the A-list level meetings, something Epstein Island, like, fucked. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Do you think that if this movie was set in today, that they would have that sort of religious aspect in it or not?
I think it would depend if they were trying to, like, make a commentary on it, because he was clearly posed just to be the foil for her character, right? To be this, like, person of, like, we are both clearly really smart and are deserving of each other's respect, but we just simply have opposing values and therefore will be, you know, like, saying the two sides of the same coin sort of thing. Whereas I think today, if they were doing it and they were trying to be critical of the government, which I think this movie is almost edging on that, but it's not really coming too close.
Barely.
This movie's, like, weirdly kind of pro-capitalist, too. It's like, get your shit privately funded. That's awesome. Billionaires who take themselves to space are pretty cool. Like, no. Yeah. In today's world, the billionaire who sends himself to space would get blown up, and that would have been, like, played off for laughs, as it should be. And, yeah, I'm sure, like, the religious advisor to the president character, if I were to write the movie, would also be, like, a hack and a joke.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, like I'm sure Joe Biden does have like a religious advisor because
Oh,
I'm sure they all.
absolutely.
I'm sure they all do.
Fucking
but-
Joel Olstein or some shit.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
gross.
So before we get into some questions I posted on our Instagram, I begged for some questions. I do want to like, I don't know, overarching, like, I feel like we've been shitting on this movie, but I do like kind of weirdly like it in a roundabout way. It's not one of my favorites, and considering it was directed by Robert Zemeckis, did that shake you to your core?
Why do I not know who that is?
You do.
I'm sure.
Death Becomes Her is another like sort of it's like another like sort of fringe one of his, but he fucking directed Castaway, Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like stacked, fucking stacked discography. And like to me, Death Becomes Her and this are like kind of like weird, like I don't know, like they just don't really feel like they fit, but I don't know, it sort of like shook me.
Yeah, shit. He's got some big ones.
I did, yeah, the final third act of this movie did kind of get me together, and I did find like some of these like grand sweeping thematic points to be actually like kind of touching and moving. Like that whole like, you know, humans, like, you know, humanity is worth preserving because you have so much hope, right? Like those sort of, I don't know, like you don't have to feel so alone in the universe, in the wide universe, because there's like always something else out there to like move towards and like a bigger thing to strive towards. Like I think that's really beautiful. But like to me, I was like, this was a 2.5-hour movie that achieved essentially what every single 45-minute episode of Doctor Who does.
Yeah.
Like every single, like, the corniest episode, the most bottom of the barrel episodes of Doctor Who still extract these sort of, like, beautiful sweeping grand statements about, like, the human condition. Whereas, like, this movie, I'm like, yeah, like, I'm bought in. Like, you've totally sold it to me, but, like, you did not need to take this much time and effort to tell me that. But I did still, like, it did still, by the end of it, I was kind of like, wow, that was really, like, that was a lot. In a good way and a bad way, I guess. But to get into...
I still enjoyed it. It's just the fact that it took an hour and a half to get to the spot that I enjoyed it.
So we have just a couple of questions. Fifth_Ray says, if you could marry any fictional character, who would it be? And marriage, like, who would I... Fuck all of them, but who would I marry? That's a real... Like, I'm gonna have to dig into the wall of my mind, because...
Hold on.
I'm married in real life to the Swedish chef, the Muppet. I don't know if you guys knew that about me. I'm Mrs. Chef. It's pretty great. I love it. The only other answer that is, like, really shining in my mind is Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings. He was sort of, like, an early sexual awakening for me, who I do... Like, I don't know if I'm really fit to be queen or, like, royalty of any sort, but, like, he sort of eats. He'd be a slay husband. I also think Sam, even though he's gay for Frodo, I would love to be just, like, a little wife in the Shire, like, baking some bread and, like, doing Shire activities. That's, like... I would need to set up a Wi-Fi router, but I would love to live in the Shire.
These movies are solid. I wouldn't say they're my favorite, but they're solid. I would have to be a gay man, because I would want to be married to Benoit Blanc from Knives Out.
Wait, that's so good. That's such a good answer. Who plays his husband?
Mr. Mr. Willy Wonka himself. Not Willy Wonka, Mr.
Hugh Grant.
Oompa Loompa. Hugh Grant, yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, what a weird full circle moment.
I'm gonna have to go for him. I think that would be so fun.
I love that. And, like, the supportive stay-at-home husband of Benoit Blanc.
I would love. I'd be thrilled.
Abby Zur asks, is there a movie or series you tell yourself you will never watch? I think I said before, I'll never watch Seinfeld. I don't give a fuck. A lot of those, like, episodic...
The Office.
Yeah, a lot of those, like,
The Office, I'll never do
the
it.
sitcoms that people are like, oh my god, you have to. I'm like, it's a sitcom where it's like, it never builds to anything greater. It's like every episode is just its own thing. I'm like, I just don't, at this point in my life, I don't hold space for that. I have the ones that I like, and they're in my bank, and I don't need anything new.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ivana Milan says, what is your second favorite color?
Probably green.
Just green in general? Like, not a specific shade?
I like a forest or like a glass bottle green.
Okay.
Like a deep green. I don't like sage. Forest green is good. Muted green is bleh. Yeah, like I like jewel tones, so.
I would say, like, I think my number one favorite color is, like, chartreuse. Like a bordering on gross.
Shit green.
Shit green. Yeah, it's like, it's almost ugly, right? But it's like, it's not quite lime, it's not quite like neon, but it's also not quite like poop brown. But it's like something in between those two. I think that's my favorite color. And then I think my second, it's so boring, but just like gray. I love gray. Just like,
yeah, you had like a gray room, like, growing up.
I wanted it to be black. I wanted the walls to be black, and my parents were like, we are already worried about you. They're like, if you paint your walls black, that's, like, gonna be bad for your mental health. They're like, we don't have the evidence to back this up, but that can't be good for you, right? Like you have blackout curtains, and you're gonna paint the walls black. Like, I don't think we're ever gonna get you out of there. So they're like, we'll settle on a dark gray. And I was like, fair.
Yeah, imagine, I could see it being like what's that, like Vanta Black or whatever?
Oh, yeah, the one that,
in
like,
a sunless room.
Oh my god. And, like, my skin is already translucent. Like,
you're like one of those underwater creatures where their eyeballs glow.
Yes.
You can see their entire skeleton underneath their translucent little scales.
Just call me a bioluminescent anglerfish, because I am down here just minding my business. But was there ever a color that you painted your room that, like, in the moment felt so cunty, and then exactly 20 minutes later you were like, I hate myself? Like, to me it was always, like, the teal. The bright teal. Or when you're, like, in 4th grade, you're like, I love teal, and then you become 15 and you're like, this is so gross. Or like the lime green. Did you ever have like
I had the lime green.
Mm-hmm.
I had the lime green as a kid. That one was pretty rough.
Probably the best Instagram handle I've ever seen. Chicago starring Trina Vega. Like Chicago, but Chicago starring Trina Vega.
That's so fucking good.
I didn't say this on our Chicago episode, but I fully thought that song she sang in Victorious was from the musical Chicago. It's a city that's exciting. It's a city that's inviting. It's a city for a woman just like me. Chicago. Chicago. Iconic.
That's so good.
And they say, do you worship the dolls? Well, yes. Well, yes, of course. Of course we worship the dolls here on The Swamp.
Absolutely.
And then if we want to get into some of our regularly scheduled programming, I'm trying to think.
I mean, we're all gonna kill Matthew McConaughey, aren't we?
Yeah, so I feel
I'm gonna kill Matthew McConaughey, I'm gonna fuck Jodie Foster, and I'm gonna marry the friend. What's his name?
Yeah. Kent.
What's his name? Kent.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only right answer.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
shit.
True.
I could marry...
Angela Bassett did the thing.
No. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Jodie Foster, my woman king. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some fringe characters. I mean,
no one struck me.
Every man in this movie other than Kent sucks. Other than her dead dad and her blind friend, every man in this movie sucks. And then
what else do I have to say?
And then there's literally only 2 female characters in this entire film, so there's not really much else to choose from. Yeah, I'm gonna brutally murder Matthew McConaughey. I'm gonna make him see God. Like,
spear him. Yeah. I have like really boring answers for food and drink as well.
Yeah, mine aren't great either. Mine are based solely on that scene where she is like calling into the guys in the lab, right? She's driving, she's putting pedal to the metal, and she's like, you gotta turn the whatever to
turn the satellite
gigahertz, scientific jargon, and I'm just picturing like being one of the science guys in the lab who just day in and day out, you're just like monitoring fucking who knows what. And so I'm like, you're in the lab, and what's your little like work snack? Is that you're like, I'm chilling, and I'm like, I could maybe have to be doing some work, but like I have a little snacky with me. And so I think that obviously you gotta be pounding coffee at the office, at the lab, wherever you are. You're pounding coffee, so I think you make yourself a little espresso martini, because that's also going to zap you awake for the last 2 hours of this film. Right, you're gonna need a little boost to get you over that hump. So I think you make yourself an espresso martini, and then I think, what are you eating? Like a little chippy, but you don't want to get your fingers, like, dusty, because you might be having to turn the knobs and get the dial set for Jodie Foster. So you're gonna eat your hot Cheetos, but you're gonna do it with chopsticks, and you're gonna shake the bag. You're gonna get the hot Cheetos, and then you squeeze the lime into the bag. You know this trick, right? And then you shake the bag, so you have your little lime juice coated hot Cheetos, and you do not want to be touching that, so you just snatch it with a little chopstick, and that's your little, I'm doing science and I'm being so cunty, your little snack. What about you?
I like that. Like I said, they're pretty boring. I think I went solely based off of what I thought Jodie Foster's character would eat and drink watching this movie, honestly. And I think she would drink at least 6 Miller High Lifes.
I thought you were going to say Heineken. I was like, she's going to drink a light beer. Sure.
No. I think she drinks the champagne of beers. And I think you have to drink at least 6 of them. That's the only way you get through this movie. And then you start off with a shot, and then you drink 6 Miller High Lifes, and you just body a pretzel and beer cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, pretzel bites, specifically.
Ooh, like from Auntie Annie's. Hot.
I think you make your own beer cheese, because it's really easy, and it's so fucking good.
Really? It's easy?
It's very easy. Very easy.
Is it just beer and cheese?
Well, you have to make a roux.
Okay.
But, like, as long as you make a roux. So, it's, all you have to do is fucking grate your own cheese, and you're basically good.
Wait, for those of you at home who don't know, don't buy pre-shredded cheese. Don't do it. Pre-shredded cheese, especially if you're gonna melt it for any reason.
Yeah,
if you're just
you can't.
If you're like broke and you're just making like, even it's cheaper to buy blocked cheese. So if you're broke, you have no excuse. Blocked cheese is cheaper, but if you're like just making like a fucking quesadilla, who cares? Like whatever.
Fine.
But if you're melting the cheese, like
if you're making a cheese sauce,
if you make anything, they coat the shredded cheese in potato starch so that it doesn't stick together. Because imagine you're grating a block of cheese, it's kind of coagulating into a big lump. So they coat it in starch so that it stays shredded, but that makes it like less susceptible to like good gooey melty. So if you're making like mac and cheese sauce, anything, you gotta shred your own cheese. Just always you should be shredding your own cheese. It's cheaper and it makes more sense, and you're adding less like weird fucking extra ingredients. I don't know. That was like a big thing that Henry taught me, that I was like, yeah, holy fuck. Like nobody ever tells you that.
It's huge. No. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't watch like Binging with Babish or some shit like that. If you're gonna take one thing away from this podcast, I hope it's that.
God, I
hope. But yeah, I think that's just really simple and easy, and like everything that this first half of this movie's not giving me, I'm gonna get it from my Miller High Lifes and my pretzels.
Why did I felt like this movie was like sort of, if I had to equate this movie to be a food, it would be like a Fig Newton, right? Like it's like
fine.
It's fine. It's like fine, and it's good. And if you give it to me, I'm gonna eat it. I'm probably gonna like it. But like, am I gonna buy it at the store? No. Or like when presented next to an Oreo, I'd be like go fuck yourself, Fig Newton. And like, no.
What do you think this is?
But if it's like the option between Fig Newton and nothing, like
exactly.
I don't mind a Fig Newton. That's how I feel like
you get it.
sort of the graham cracker of movies as well.
Yeah.
Graham cracker, Fig Newton, sort of, it's fundamentally good, but it's just not, doesn't have any bells and whistles that are tickling me.
Exactly.
The thing I love the most about this movie, honestly, is how much the drag queen Katya loves this movie.
Really? She does?
Oh my god, she has a dress of the cover of this movie. I'll send you a compilation of Katya referencing Contact. She's obsessed. And she says too, she's like, yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's just like Jodie Foster just like serving absolute like complex female cunt, like for you know, if you're a Jodie Foster fan, this movie is definitely going to do something for you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, she's playing almost kind of a similar character to Clarice in this, I think, in some ways.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's like a woman who's begging everyone to respect her, like, and like, validate her in her career that she's clearly so good at, but just everyone around her is like, yeah, but you're a woman, so you probably fucking suck. And her just like being like, but wait, I'm gonna do the most important thing, and
literally.
then will you believe me? And it's like, well, maybe. And that's like both of those.
Literally, yeah.
Jodie knocks it out of the park when that is the prompt, for sure.
Absolutely.
But, so then what are you gonna follow this movie up with?
Interstellar. I watched it very recently, and
So
I hadn't
good.
watched it in a very long time. It's so good. You can't say that it's not a good movie.
It's so good.
Solid.
I'm also a little slut for Christopher Nolan, not just because of all the recent Oscar hype, but I've been like, I love me some complex time travel,
That's your man.
overlapping. We're gonna be on the planet for 3 minutes, but then he's gonna be in the spaceship for 20 years. They, like, mention that offhandedly. They're like, you might be in space, and you might come back and 50 years might have passed. But we just don't know. And for her, it's like she was gone for 18 hours, but it only felt like a few seconds. But I was like, why would you even bring that up if it's not gonna, like, if it's gonna be not quite so consequential, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel like she felt she was gone for years, and then she comes back and it's only seconds. And she's like, holy fuck, I was gone for years. I mean, yeah, there's only so much you can do in the span of a movie, but...
And it was like the implication, like, Matthew McConaughey was like, but I'll miss you! Shut up. Yeah.
Go pray.
Literally.
Go to confession. Jesus, boy.
What about you? What are you rating this?
So, I don't know if you clocked this. This is, like, kind of niche, but the guy who plays the, like, religious extremist terrorist who bombs the first spaceship...
Don't tell me. Is he the guy in, the Da Vinci Code? I'm just thinking because I think they both are kind of, like, albino, but I could be so off.
No.
But what about him? What about him, then?
Was he? No. So this is Jake. I think you say Busey. Busey. Bussy. Jake Bussey. He's a nepo baby. His dad is Gary Busey, who's like in.
Oh my god!
But so Jake Busey is in a movie called Starship Troopers. I don't know if you've seen it. This movie slaps. And Starship Troopers is doing everything with the science fiction genre that I just like. And this movie is doing everything with the science fiction genre that it's like, it's edging on what I like, right? Starship Troopers is camp. It's making big sweeping political statements. It's satire. It's parody. It's just like, I don't know. It's doing everything. Neil Patrick Harris is in it. It's just kind of cunty. It's like a cunty little sci-fi, and I feel like that's what you want to switch. You want to switch it up, right? This is very serious sci-fi. I want to switch it up and being like, okay, we're making fun of Star Wars now, or like, not quite making fun of Star Wars, but you know what I mean. Like we're serving camp, basically, within the sci-fi genre, but also like still making important and interesting statements within film. I don't know. Love me some Starship Troopers, so that's what I would go with next. And then you got a little through line with your actor, as well as if you do Interstellar, you also have your little Matthew McConaughey tidbit.
Fabulous. And what are you rating this movie? I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10.
I was gonna give it like a 6.5. Like 6.73. Like we're not quite at a 7, but we're getting there. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, but I weirdly do think that this was somewhat impactful to me when I was, you know, how old were we?
14?
13. Yeah, like 13 in 8th grade, watching this, being like, wow, that's that's pretty cool. Honestly, I do think Gattaca kind of swept in. I think right after this we watched Gattaca, and I'm like, wait, now we're cooking with gas.
Well, yeah, because hot and sexy Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke were there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, now we're getting somewhere. But yeah, I think this movie is kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting case study in, like, the science fiction genre of, like, what if we took this so seriously?
Oh, yeah.
That it was fucking for real, bro. What would you do then? Like, I don't know. But thank you to Rainy Mornings, and shouts out to Anya MD. Good luck with your astronomy PhD.
Yes!
Holy fucking shit. And yeah, thank you to everybody who submitted movies for this month. We were fucking lazy and just didn't know what to do, and you all made it so easy for us by sending in really great suggestions. We also, I know we said we were going to do some Oscar shit this month, but then the Oscars came and went, and we were like, this is old news. Who cares? So we were going to do some Oscar shit for the Patreon, but then we were like, no. And then Emily and I went and saw Love Lies Bleeding, and we're like, no.
This is what we have to talk about.
Honestly, it's kind of homophobic of us that we're charging people $2.86 to hear us talk about the lesbian movie of the moment, but we're gonna talk about Love Lies Bleeding over on the Patreon, so if that tickles your fancy, you can check that out. The link is in the description below. I mean, not to give too much away, but we both thoroughly enjoyed it, so if you haven't seen it yet, I believe it's still in theaters. It'll probably be on streaming, like, within a month or so, I would guess. It's still
I would have to assume.
It's still kind of fresh in the theaters, but
yeah.
Definitely a thumbs up from us here on The Swamp, but if you want to hear us discuss it, you can check that out. And, yeah, thank you all. We love you. Stick around, and I don't know what we're doing next month, but...
We'll see.
We'll see. You'll see. We love you all.
If you have suggestions...
Yeah, send them in. Movie suggestions. You know the drill. The drill. All right, we love you. Goodbye and good night.
Mwah.